You've heard it 1,000 times. Don't drop your calories too low or it'll wreck your metabolism. And it's true if you do it too soon or for too long. But here's the problem. A lot of people are so scared about going too low with their calories that they never drop them low enough to actually get results. So in this video, I'll show you exactly when it does make sense to lower calories, how to do it without destroying your metabolism, and signs you should look for so you can get the results you're after. So look, I am one of the people who talks all the time about the dangers of going too low calorie. How if you do go too low calorie, it's gonna destroy your metabolism, your hormones, you're gonna lose more muscle, the whole process is just gonna be terrible. Horrible things come from starving yourself trying to get results. But what I'm finding is a lot of times people are getting so apprehensive about lowering their calories that they just can't ever even get results. So sometimes you gotta realize you might have to go lower calorie than you think. You also have to understand that low calories is relative to the individual. Like, yeah, we can take things like TDEE calculators and stuff and plug in a bunch of stats and it'll spit out numbers, but it's just not relative to you, the person. It doesn't know anything about your genetics, your diet history. So we can't just take a square number and say X calories is always too low. So how do you know if it's okay to lower calories or if you should or shouldn't? And I'm definitely gonna get into that, but first things first. What I hear a lot, and I wanna make sure this isn't you, if you've been at a certain amount of calories and you're being consistent and you're not seeing results for a long period of time, do not just keep eating those calories hoping it's just all of a sudden gonna start working. Like if it's not working for more than about 3 or 4 weeks, it's not working. And sometimes I hear people say, I've been on the same calories for 6 months, even a year plus sometimes, and I'm just not losing. It's like, man, if you're on it for that long, your body's adapted, it's not gonna happen. If you wanna see progress, you're gonna have to lower your calories. And if not, you can always reverse diet and get your metabolism back up so you can come back later. I'll talk about that later in this video. But anyways, if you are afraid to drop, it's okay to be afraid and it's good to be apprehensive. I don't want you to just like willy-nilly just drop your calories like crazy, but also you understand that it's a temporary thing. Sometimes you do have to get pretty aggressive, especially if you've lost a lot of weight, you're getting down to that last little bit. Sometimes you have to go pretty low calorie to be able to make that last push, and that's okay. It's just not something that you're doing forever, and it's also not something that you want to start with. The worst thing you can do is just drop right to super low calories right off the bat and create a huge calorie deficit because it's just going to be a disaster. So the very low calories should be the tail end of your cut and not something you start with. But how do you know, okay, what is low calories? Well, I said earlier that you can't really go based on numbers, and you really kind of can't, but there are some numbers I like to just kind of, okay, it's time to pay attention. Time to go, okay, am I seeing some warning signs that my body's fighting me and everything? So if you're someone who's a little bit more lean, you're not like very overweight, then I typically like to pay attention once you get around to about 10 times your body weight. But if you are obese, that number's not gonna work as well. I mean, 10 times your body weight when you're 350 pounds is 3,500 calories, right? Like it's just not gonna be a good equation. At that point, I like to say more around like maybe 7 to 8 times your body weight. Again though, it's just kind of rough math. Don't ever go below that. Just if you get to that level, start paying attention. And then when you do start paying attention, what you're doing is you're paying attention to warning signs that your body's telling you this is too low calorie, I can't handle this. So some of those signs are extreme hunger and food focus, extreme fatigue, you're always cold, you find you're overly moody or agitated all the time, loss of hair or brittle nails. For females, loss of period. All these things can be signs that your body is fighting you and you need to start refueling. But if you don't have those signs and you feel like you're low calorie, but you're doing okay overall, well then it's okay. You can go ahead and drop your calories even if some calculator or some person online says that it's too low. No, you're fine. Again, it's a temporary thing just to get some results, and you'll be able to bring your calories back up when you're done. So the question is, well, how much do you drop at this point then? So I typically say to make an adjustment when you've already been dieting for a long time, you want to drop about 10% from your current calories. So if you're eating 2,000 calories, you drop about 200 calories to make that next push. But before you make that push, I highly recommend you take a diet break first. Bring your calories up by around maybe 300 to 500. I know that sounds weird because you haven't been losing weight, so isn't that your new maintenance calories? But the body is just so complex and dynamic, and I'm telling you, when you've been in a deficit for a long time, your body's fighting you, things just kind of upregulate, your body handles it well, you kind of improve your energy levels and your metabolism can see an uptick. And what this does is it kind of fuels your body back up before you make that push. And it kind of takes your body out of that fight or flight survival mode, so to speak. So if you do that for a week or two first and then come back, and make a 10% drop from the pre-diet break numbers. That's usually enough to get things moving again. You can also add in a little bit more cardio, take some more steps. But again, this is for when you've already been dieting for a while. So a 10% decrease from the very start of your cut would not be enough. At that point, I usually recommend around like 20 to 25% tops for starting it. But later on, you don't have to make such big drops to continue to making a push. But if the thought of doing that feels like there's just no way, that's way too low calorie, if you do make that drop and you still can't see results and it's starting to eat away at you, don't force it, okay? Don't say screw it and just say it's not worth it and I give up and just go binge your face off, because you will gain weight rapidly if you do that. So please don't do that. Don't throw in the towel. It's not hopeless. You can still get results, but what you're gonna have to do first is go through a good reverse diet. Start bringing your calories up gradually, maybe around 50 to 100 calories per week. And what this does is it allows your metabolism to kind of speed back up while minimizing fat gain, because with that gradual approach, it can keep up, versus if you were eating lower calories and then boom, made a big jump, you're gonna gain fat quickly. So that's one thing you can do. But if you feel like you're stuck and you need to work on your metabolism, what I want you to do next is check out this video. It's gonna cover 5 proven ways to supercharge your metabolism. So check that out next, and I'll see you in that other video.